was this really cool thing I found on Pinterest. And I think that this is a really good example of procedural animation. I don't think I've ever even heard of Animal Jam. Has anyone ever heard of Animal Jam?
Yes.
What is Animal Jam?
It's just an online video game, but it has a really cool 2D style to it.
I'll have to check it out. I'll make a
Yeah.
note right here. So my guess is that he did this, and I'm guessing that it was a he, because Jason sounds like a guy. Either in Unity or Maya, and then stylize it. I think this is a really, really excellent example of pushing the limits of what you would be doing in 3D animation, Maya, Unity, and making it have a really, really wonderful stylized look to it. I just think it's really great. There's, you know, in the strictest analyzation here, he says it's steam, right? He's calling it a pillar of steam. And you can see that there's a faster motion of the steam coming up from the origin point, and then it billows out, and then it slows down. It's like, look at this little section right here where the steam just kind of loops in a clockwise fashion, and it slows down as it goes off the screen, and then it does the same thing on the left side. It goes counterclockwise and then goes off the screen. He's got a little diffusion thing put in there, probably just for Pinterest, but I just think it's really great. That this is exactly what the class would be shooting for taking whatever procedural, whatever sliders you have in Maya, and really making it look like it's art. Instead, you know, I think that I remember having a conversation with the chair of our department when we first started this class. I might have mentioned this before, but the thing that he was kind of looking at was, well, we've already talked about Angry Birds a little bit, but I think he was specifically talking about Pokemon Go, and it had come out, and he was looking at it, and there's just a ton of effects in Pokemon Go. Everything from wind to the little splashes that happen when it's raining. There's all kinds of things. You know, if has anyone played the game Pokemon Go?
My sister does.
You know, take a look at it. There's some things are pretty good, like on a day when you have your buddy and you are supposed to be earning hearts for your buddy in the game, and so you have to put your buddy on the map, and in order to put your buddy on the map, you just have to use your augmented reality and find a flat place for him to sit, and then he appears, and you have to step back from it if it's too big, because it'll take up the whole screen on your phone. And as soon as you do that, you can feed him berries. You can play with him, and in order to play with him, you have to take your finger and rub it on the character's belly. And as you're doing that, there's a whole bunch of little pixie dust that comes out. It's kind of actually really cool, and it works. It doesn't fall like our pixie dust had done. It just kind of explodes. You know, it just kind of comes out from the center and explodes, which is fine. But when the character hits the ground, there's like a little dust that comes up, and if you really look at the dust is the same for every single character, every single size, every single instance where there's a little bit of dust, it's the same. And it's wrong. It's like, if you look at it, the shapes they're okay. It kind of looks like dust. It's fast, but a lot of the shapes are just like, they're cut wrong. It's like the little mats that they use to take the sphere and then cut the sphere to make it look like it was just moon shapes moving out from a center point. They just, the way they did the procedural stuff, it just doesn't work perfectly. And that kind of bugged him. And there was a whole bunch of little things like that where concentric circles for explosions, the orbs were kind of cool, but he always thought that, especially with Pokemon Go, that all of those things really could be improved upon. And he knew that all that stuff, it's 3D. It was either done in Maya or Softimage or something like that. But he thought that special effects animation could be really improved on. So I just wanted to put that out there. I think that the thing that we're looking at in that Steam is just really, really nice. And I put that in the discussion area of our classroom, so you can go back and look at it. And again, I think that Steam isn't part of our build. And if you wanted to try a loop like that, and this is still up for grabs. Remember, I showed you how to do this a couple of weeks ago. That I'll give you extra credit for it. And I have my book right here. And if you do Steam, I will give you extra credit. All right, so the first thing that I saw was that there's a couple of things to look at. And let me share my screen. All right, so I have something here in midterm progress. And this is Ryan. Okay, Ryan, I have some notes for you. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this so that I can get it to loop properly. All right, and once again, I apologize for the quality of drawing in Zoom. But let's talk about this. Ryan, are you okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, so remember, one of the things that I wanted to profess is just the idea of aesthetics. I think that this class isn't really that hard. It's a lot of work, but we want to talk about aesthetics. And so one of the things that I want to really push the home on is that we are talking cinema, so that you have focal points at the cinematic thirds. You always want to stay away from the edge. This is just the rules of animation and cinema for the continuity of action safe and title safe areas. So I think you're okay. You also have a focal point in the middle. And so you've got a wide range of places where you can have your focal point. That's fine. You've given yourself horizon that's almost halfway. It's almost halfway through the screen, which is fine. You can do that. And in this situation, really, this puts your vanishing point right in the middle. You've got a single 1-point perspective. And so when you're doing your grid like this, remember that there's a grid up in the sky too. that what you're doing with this grid is trying to create a bunch of perfect squares. And when you do this, it really brings the idea that a pond like this, see the area that you've got for your green pond? I think that this would have been much better if you would have followed the rules of perspective and just kind of built this pond so that it was on the perspective grid for one of these squares, or like triple one of these squares. And it still can be an amorphous organic kind of shape for sure. But I think that just drawing out your grid and setting up a pond like this based on the grid, it gives a better aesthetic. And then at that point, you can definitely play with the idea that there is a variation in whatever the pond, this green thing. What did you intend this green thing to be?
It's supposed to be for mud
Mud
bubbles.
So it's like a little area where there's like mud. So I think that this helps, right? And then I think that you can also go back in here and do another one. You don't have to animate anything in here, but you could certainly do like another one. And then even with this irregular shape right here for what would be a pond, because if this is going to be your mud, then you follow the same rules. So I'm just going to keep with the green here. And even though my shapes are similar, I think that what happens is that you really feel a sense of perspective when you get right here, when you really start splaying the pond out when it's really close to the camera. And then the idea would be is to play with perspective. So this distance between what would be the water and then the area where the water is interacting with the ground, make it less in the distance, and then bring it up wider as it gets towards the camera. So squeeze it into perspective as much as you can, and then bring it up wider once it gets towards the camera. So I think that will help improve. And then the same thing goes here. I think that you're probably trying to go for the stylization just a little too quickly. So this is your volcano, that's fine. But before you even start coloring it, break it apart. Go and look at what a volcano might look like. You've got a cone, but volcanoes are pretty irregular. And then there's going to be a change of geology. There might be like a little river or something that goes through here. And let this go off the screen. You can certainly let this part of the volcano go off the screen. All right, and then do your research. Don't just wing the idea of what the texture, what the actual slope would be like for the shape and the stuff on the volcano itself. All right, so having said that, I think that then you go and look at your lava. And remember, one of the things I said with the lava is that you're going to get a lot more mileage out of this if you get it to loop, but you've chosen to just do the lava actually coming down the side of the mountain itself. So give this an aesthetic. Give a variation in shape and let it just come from one region. Let it just from one part, that's fine. But remember that lava has a certain look to it. So give it that watery, that liquid rock kind of feel to it. And then I think that you want to do the same thing with your cloud itself. You've got with the smoke itself. Remember that you can put fire in here. You can definitely get lightning in here. We talked about lightning last week. with the unbelievable lightnings that I found. And I think I posted those in the classroom. So remember that this lightning here has a very root kind of shape to it, but it has an origin point and an exit point. When volcanoes tend to have like a flash, it just starts in the smoke and it goes back to the smoke. And the one that I showed you at the end of last week's session was that we didn't even see the lightning in that one. It was just the clouds that were lighting up. All right, so I think you need to work on your shapes here. I think that you can definitely be cartoony, but think about the variety of shapes. Big, medium, small. And this is a force of Mother Nature. And so the cloud is billowing outwards. So I think that the more of this outside curve that you can get, the better. You know, you certainly could have an inside curve. That certainly could happen, but I think that you want to work on just making this look like it's interesting. All right, so remember that when I'm doing this, and I have a little node right here, that this node is going to animate into this node, and that this is going to animate up off the screen up here. And then you do the same thing down here. I think that this will help with your animation. You've got two medium small shapes right here, and then give yourself a really small one, and then maybe a bigger one which describes the first node. I think that these holes that you've got in your smoke aren't working yet, so let's just adjust them a little bit, but really work on that first keyframe, like that first drawing that I asked you to do about the first day of class. And even last week I said, hey, let's just do this right now. So let's do a medium one right here. And then you considered this to be your first node. This is your first node. And so give yourself a small one. And again, I think that when you're talking smoke like this, that it's always a challenging thing to work with these inside curves. You've got 3, 4, 5 inside curves happening right in a row. So I think that you want to be a bit more definite about what this big, medium, small outside shapes look like. Because if you do it correctly, you've introduced an inside curve right here, then that means that you should probably have an inside curve back here somewhere. And so, you know, at the risk of erasing that one, then do an outside curve here, a really small one, and then a bigger one here, which sets your node. And so when you're thinking about just the way this looks, is that you've got your big outside curve and then an inside curve here, a big outside curve, and then your inside curve here. So this could be this, let me redo that part. So this comes from this. You see that? So then look at it. You've got, the way this works is that you've got medium, medium, small, medium, and then the inside curve. So you've got medium, medium, small, then inside curve, right? And then the bigger outside curve here. So that's your main node. And then this is your inside curve. So you see what I'm doing right there? And I could change that a little bit because it looks like the smoke is slowing down right there. So I could go back and I could say, okay, let's put the outside node right here and then do another one out here. You could just plan it that way. You could just say, I know I need to hit a big outside curve here. The other one is right here. And then go backwards. Look at the way you've got this registered. You've got the bigger outside curve and then the inside curve, and then small, and then 2 mediums. Well, actually it's 3, but see how that helps improve the overall aesthetic here. So that would be my suggestion. I think that you're still in progress with this. But I think that you need to be a bit more efficient, especially with your planning and effects and stuff. So you got a lot of stuff that's going on over here. What do you think about doing in this area right here? Ryan?
Yeah.
What do you think about doing? What do you thinking about doing in this area right here?
Huh. All right. Oh, it's here. I think I know that like in like I was adding a meteor, like I'm adding a meteor, like I added a meteor like crashing into the pond, so like it was gonna appear.
All right, you see what I'm doing here?
Um
So
yeah,
this one is
yeah.
just, this one's just like the steam, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that you could put a volcano here. I think that you need fire. I think that this, you've got this area built up here. So instead of just this really straight horizon back here, then, give yourself, I'm just drawing like a forest. And I'm following the perspective. See what I'm doing there? I'm not just drawing a random line. I'm following the perspective. And that's like the faraway forest. And then I'm going to draw another one just for interest's sake. This is another ridge of trees that's further away, and go back and use your atmospheric perspective. And I'll do that over here too. And I'll just see a couple of them over here. And then I think that that gives you a nice place for fire right here. I think that you want to figure out something that's going on here. Maybe there's a group of trees or bushes or something that are closer to us. And so remember, what I'm looking at here is that if I draw this is supposed to be either a giant bush or shrub or greenery of something, that the top of this goes to the vanishing point. And that anytime I draw anything, if I follow that general size, that it follows the rules of perspective just straight away, just absolutely straight away. And then you can say, hey, this is my focal point. I've got a lot of area right here. The clouds are moving from right to left, so I can definitely put in some sort of juicy cloud up here, something like that. And then give a companion cloud. And then I showed you how to move things, so you can get those to just animate from one point to another. But from this point, maybe some projectile, which are definitely missing. So you're definitely missing your projectiles are coming out of either this one or this one. Either one, it doesn't matter. Probably this one in the distance would be better, because it kind of lands over here and then starts up your fire. And so you could have this really, really great fire right here. So in my preview here, I think that you have something coming in from off the screen here, and you've got the water coming right into the camera. So even in this sketch right here, give yourself a really great keyframe drawing of this water. So your water is taking center stage. And so the first thing you want to draw that big open cone like this. And animators will know, game people will know that you are doing this for the camera, but by the way your perspective is drawn right here, it just makes it easy on yourself. So you can do this really great water splash that's right up in front of the camera. And again, follow Joe Gilland. His stuff is all over my board, but when you're doing the research and reference for this, make sure you're following Joe Gilland. He was my supervisor on James and Giant Peach. He's been doing special effects full time for Disney, for many different companies for years. All right, so you see what I'm doing here? I'm like making sure that I've got some really good place for all these aesthetics right here. And again, this is just a rough and it looks messy, but it's not. The things that we've been talking about here are really planned out very well. You know, you got the fire here. You actually can do a little smoke if you wanted to. You know, you could do this one just as, and I think that what you're doing is you're actually going for some sort of stylization here. So this smoke is different from this smoke. And so those are my suggestions for you. Get a great big mud bubble here. And then look at your effects. You've got smoke, lightning, lava, water, mud, fire, steam. You've got like a whole bunch of stuff in here. And I think that you would have planned this out better if you would have done a sketch that was similar to this. All right, you want to take a screenshot of this?
Yeah.
Let me know when you got it. You got it?
Let's see here. Yeah, got it.
Okay. Yeah, this needs work, Brian. So use my notes. Use the notes that I just gave you. All right, final volcanoes here. Minjung. All right, I'm gonna pull this. All right, I have to set on loop right now. So I think that you're in a good place for a bunch of things. I think that you're in a good place for the aesthetic on your smoke, just to start with. Minjung, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, so yeah, your smoke is working, definitely. Your lava is working, definitely. I like the little water splash that you've got right there. I think that's good. Are you in Toon Boom?
No, Procreate.
You're in
Yes.
Procreate.
Yeah.
So can you copy and paste layers in Procreate?
Yes.
So what I would suggest is copying and paste this water splash. And this one is a good size right here. But I think that you could copy and paste another one right here and make it a little bigger.
Okay.
And so you can use the same animation, just make sure it's not on the exact same time and moment of the animation. Right now, your cycle is only 2 seconds, which is really kind of short. But I think that you can work with this. I think that you can totally play with this, because I think that the first of all, your smoke is good, but I think it's just a little too fast. So slow it down and make sure it loops correctly, because my loop is working, but there's a pause right there. I got this in QuickTime, so it should be. I don't know exactly what's happening. Your fire's good. Your fire's great. So just extend that. Yeah, but I would put like maybe one bigger water splash over here, a different timing, and another littler one over here. My first impression was that these projectiles coming out of the volcano are moving much too fast. And so really consider how far away this thing is. If you've ever seen footage of a volcano, or even like a, the same thing goes for like an iceberg crashing and falling into the ocean. And there's somebody on a boat crew and they've got a camera. It's like, oh, look, the glacier is like cracking, and they can hear this big boom, and then all of a sudden it crashes into the water, and they realize they've got like 15 seconds to get out of there before this huge wave is going to overtake them. So having said that, I think that remember that your horizon is about right here, and your perspective is okay, your style is good, everything is working pretty well. But I think that these projectiles, this mountain should be at least 1.5 miles away. You know, it is a good 5, 6, 10, even 10 kilometers away. So when you've got these projectiles coming out here and coming into the water, I think that you're going to do really right by yourself in just drawing your tracks. And remember, some of them can go off the screen. So one thing that you could do here is that because you only have 2 seconds, is that you could plan this out to be more like a story. And the first thing that happens is that, first of all, these projectiles just, the mountain just explodes, right? And you can have these projectiles come out first, and then do your track. And so like especially for this one that falls in the water right here, this is the top. This is where your projectile is going to ease into the top as a bounce, you know, it's basically a bouncing ball, and then it's going to ease out. But you've got this wicked perspective here. So give yourself, I don't think you need to engineer this, but I think that what you need is more graphic. So just take your projectile on 2s and put a whole bunch of them, just like right here. Just see what I'm doing? Just a whole bunch of them. And then it slows down to, this is the apex. This is the highest point in the arc. So there's probably 20 drawings, which equals 40 frames. So that's like 2 seconds right there. And then have it speed up before it hits the water. All right, you got that?
Yes.
And then do the same thing for all of these. So the progression for you would be is that the first thing that happens is that the projectiles come out, and you can have as many as you want. And then the smoke starts. So I think that you can take this cycle, and in your timeline, just move the smoke down to about right here. So this is like, if this is 2 seconds right here, then this is 2 seconds. And then sometime around 1 second, just draw a bunch of smoke that starts. So just draw like one little thing, and then it comes up a little bit more, and then it comes up a little bit more, and then the 5th one, and then it starts the cycle. So those frames right here in your smoke actually begin the cycle. This right here is your cycle for the smoke. I think that the fire is okay. It's great. I love the fire, but I think that you should give yourself something that's actually burning. You know, just whatever it is. it could even be like a tiki torch if you want. Right? You could do that. Okay, I think your lightning is good, but make sure that the origin point is correct. I think that you want to bring the lightning from the cloud smoke and then back into it. All right, so you've got space right here. What are you thinking of doing with this space right here? Just nothing? Any-
I wanted to add the cloud.
So you're going to draw like just some clouds rolling by.
Yeah.
And remember that the rule of perspective here is that once you've established, and I'm giving myself an alternate vanishing point over here, that you could draw as many clouds as you want, and we will know where those clouds are just by the scale of them. All right, so this is looking really good. I think that you've got a really nice aesthetic.
Thank you.
I think you need to get the timing. Right now, it's set for 2 seconds, and it's just a little too quick. So make it just a little more cinematic.
Okay.
All right, it's looking good. Thank you, Min Jung. All right, Millicent, how's this looking? All right, what are you planning on doing? Talk to me.
I want to finish clean up with the color and then add the tornado.
You're going to put a tornado in here? Oh, you said that last week too. I mean, you
I'm
can do
sorry,
that.
what was that?
You see, I think you said that last week.
Yes, I mean, I was just thinking, since tornadoes are pretty large, that it would still be able to fit, and it wouldn't look too small. But I can just do it separately.
Well, yeah, I
and
think
just
you want
focus
to.
on
Yeah, just do your tornado separately.
it. Okay.
All right, so I think that I might have given you notes on this that are similar to what I'm about to say, and I think that you're on the right track. Definitely, I think that I can see that you've moved your tree a little bit, but you left a hole in the smoke. So you have a little,
Yes,
you have a little bit of stuff to do there. So I think what's happening here is that you've got your horizon is really high. So you're way above the first cinematic third here. And what I would recommend is taking these clouds and making them much smaller. So take these clouds and put them like way back over here.
Okay.
Really, really small. We know that you're only moving them, so it's not like it's part of an effect.
Yeah.
Because I think that once you draw your grid, your vanishing point is like right here, right? And then your perspective up in the sky is all up there. So I think that your clouds belong up there, and just get them to move straight across instead of up and into the camera. Because I think that what's happening is that you've got, if that were to happen, that they should be scaling a lot more bigger. So make them really small. So my recommendation would be, is this fallen tree right here? Is that what my recommendation is, to make this is the edge of the bark of the tree that we can see. Now, I don't think that, I don't think I have a paint bucket tool in here, but this would be completely black. This is like the ridge of the tree that separates the foreground from everything else. So this is solid black,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
And again, this really, really bold, dark, black, thick. And then each one of these little ridges here can be black as well. So just look at what bark looks like on a tree, and maybe you can get some other shapes in there or something. So I think that that'll really separate and start to give you a really awesome aesthetic. Once you've established that, I think that you might want to do the same thing for your little shrubbery here. On the outside curve, on the outside of your bush, just give these like a heavier, more defined line. And because I think that you can keep this pastel looking thing, because I think that's really interesting, but give yourself just more of a defined outer exterior of this bush. And so give these like a really hard, crisp line. So that's different. I don't see any hard lines because you're working with your pastel brush. So give these like a really definitive hard line.
Okay.
And then I think that the pastel for the smoke is going to work fine. Remember that you've got to time out that smoke. It's too fast. Slow it down. And then when you go and do your fire, I think that you want to use this fire is in your foreground. So make sure that it's going to be the centerpiece. So use the same kind of aesthetic that you've got going with these really defined brushes here. And this is going to, because it's right in front of the camera. So give yourself whatever this fire is going to look like, a series of lines like that. So I think that that'll be really cool. And it's just a cleanup thing, really. It's just like a final aesthetic.
Okay.
And then increase your playback, because right now it's only like 4 seconds or something. And so as soon as the lightning strikes, then the fire should just start and loop. And this, and you're not going to be doing any animation, you're just copying and pasting stuff. I would recommend kind of toning your lava down a little bit. Remember, it is quite a distance away from the camera, and it can still be that pastel quality, but make it smaller.
Okay.
And then give yourself some projectiles. It's part of what we were doing. It's part of the class build. And I think that instead of doing a tornado down here, that what you could actually do is work on the background a little bit, so that you've got, now what I'm doing is I'm looking at my perspective grid. This line is not random here. I'm looking at your vanishing point, and I'm giving you a lake. And I'm doing this line like this to kind of emulate the pastel brush that you're working with. Now I'm going to do another one that's just inside it, and it gets a little bigger for us. And then one of these projectiles here is going to give you your giant water splash. So do your water splash right here. And you can make it this big, right? So this projectile here is going to come out. It's going to hit the water, and you got a giant water splash right here.
Okay.
Try to see if you can originate your lightning, because right now your lightning is coming from really far up here. See if you can originate your, well, I think it's okay. Yeah, I think it's okay. But I think that what you can do is, let me look at this for one more second. Yeah, I think your flash is okay. All right, so I think those would be the notes. Yeah, do your tornado on a separate project. All right, you want to take a screenshot of that?
Yes, I got it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. All right, Joseph, tornado. All right, Joseph, this looks pretty good. I think you're totally on the right track. Now you just got to add to it. Now you just got to give yourself 8 times more ribbons of smoke and 25 times more debris. And remember, I think that you want some kind of differentiation in the, what would, if you were to color the tornado a solid color, that would be silly. So, you know, give yourself some texture on the tornado, some places that have different color in there, but I think you're on the right track.
Thank you.
Definitely on the right track. All right. So what I would like to do right here, let me see. So I don't have any numbers in this column. So I know that some of you may not be ready to post anything, but let me ask Rob. Rob, I saw you show up here. Rob,
Yep.
Mr. Rob, can
Hey.
you want to share your screen with us? Let me see what you're working on.
I'm not currently working on anything on my computer,
Oh, okay.
but
right.
during the break, I updated the splash. I put that in there, and I'm still working on the volcano and everything.
The water
It's been kinda
splash.
giving me- yeah, it's been kind of giving me a hard time, but I should have it all figured out by the next class.
Okay. I think I might have critiqued this. It might be in the, oh, maybe I didn't. I did not critique this one.
No, you critiqued my first version of it, and then you said that the finger thing was because I was mirroring it so that way I could do the splash faster to kind of get it laid out, and then you're all like, don't do that because it's going to make it look too symmetrical.
Yeah, exactly. And it still is.
Yeah, I know.
Um,
Even after I turned it off and tried to go back, and it still came out kind of symmetrical.
well, I think that what you missed are 2 important things. One, let me just do this way. So I'm just going to do 2D animation, water splash. I'm going to put Joe Gilland in there. Switch it to images. All right, so what Joe describes several times in his book, The Elemental Magic, and remember that this book, it's about special effects. It's about special effects. But the way it's written, it talks about art. It talks about how to do research and reference for art. So this water splash right here is like straight down, right? And you could definitely use this one if you wanted to keep your water splash straight down. And so if I switch this to Joe Gilland, I might get the, well, now this is interesting here. Occasionally I push my animators towards looking at this to be their final, because it's got a really great little campfire, where the campfire has fire and smoke and water. And my suggestions in the past have been that you might have a character carrying this bucket of water before they splash it on the campfire. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, that's such a great idea. Now I'm not getting the one particular water splash that Joe uses that is offset. And the reason that he makes it offset, it's just that it's easier to see the perspective in the bowl. Like just for this one right here, even though this one's straight down, you can see that he's got the near ridge lower so that you can see the far away ridge of the water. And so for you, you have a couple of different approaches that you can use. And one would be is you've got your projectile coming straight down. And so your impact is going to be right here. So if you wanted to, then bring your cone straight up. Sorry, I have a tendency to draw things in perspective. So if you wanted to make it more straight down, then start with your cone here so that the near ridge is lower so that we can see the water splash. And even with the crappy drawing tools in Zoom, you can see where I'm getting at here.
Yeah.
So that's the core. That's the main volume of your water. And so I would avoid doing these little tendrils going straight up, because the nature of water is that it has a cone effect to it. And then if you're doing a correct layout for this, that you would use that one shape going up to be the secondary splash, like we talked about. And then I think that you have a place to put your spray. Then once you've done that, now you have a place where the little smaller droplets of water actually make more sense. All right, so that would be my suggestion, just if you wanted to bring it straight down. And then the other idea would be is that if you bring that projectile in at an angle, then the splash has a rotated cone shape to it, and there's more volume of water going off to the left than there would be to the right. It's just off center, it's just asymmetrical. But yeah, you can bring it straight down if you want, but definitely use the lower part of the cone to show the water in front. Okay. Yeah, and I would not use the mirror tool that you're using. Just do this one by hand. You got a screenshot of that if you want? Let me know when you got it. It looks like your video might be frozen, Rob. All right, I'm going to clear this.
My Zoom's kind of broken up right now. I'm having a hard time hearing everything you're saying.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm recording it. You can go back and look at it. All right, Joseph, we already talked about this, right?
Here it goes.
Yeah, I think that you have a different version of that one.
Yeah.
All right, so I don't have anything new in columns here. Did I miss anything? Did anybody have anything that they wanted to show me right at this moment? All right, so let's take a 10-minute break. 10 minutes, everybody. Take 10 minutes, please. Pause the recording, and I'm going to do it again. So this time I'm going to do the water version, right? And remember, I'm here, I'm working. If you have any questions, just ask me. My microphone, my camera's on. I'm just going to do another drawing for water, just to show you the timing of what that process looks like. And I'll use my same blue pencil. All right. Everyone okay? Right. Okay. All right, I'm going to open this Photoshop. All right, so let me go back here. So just let me give you a little bit of insight into what I'm doing. Recording is paused. Let me do another one. Okay, this is like my demo, except that you can't see what I'm doing. All right, so I'm here. If you want to ask me anything, that's okay. I'm going to put this in the class as well. Water, steam, rain, mud.